What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. When Goku was sent to Earth, there were a lot of variables about how he would land there or where he'd even end up at. So many things could have gone wrong, but not just that, many things could have also gone different, and that's what we're here to cover today. Instead of Goku landing on Earth, what would have changed if King Kai tried to intervene, diverting Goku's pod to his planet? I'm not sure if this will turn into a full scenario or not, but let's set a like goal of 3,000 likes, and if we hit that, I'll create another part to this series. Anyways, let's begin. Just like normal, from planet Vegeta, Kakarot's pod is sent away. It's on a course for Earth. Of course, the Galactic Patrol did pick up on this, that's why Jaka went there in the first place. But there's another person who's worried, that is King Kai. There aren't too many planets with life in Universe 7, and at least for his quadrant, King Kai wants to do his best to protect it. A Saiyan being sent to Earth is a recipe for disaster. Since he's so concerned about this, he decides to redirect the pod, bringing it to his planet. He doesn't intend on raising this kid, no. His goal is to kill it. Working his magic, the pod is then teleported away, crossing realms as it goes to King Kai's planet. Inside, of course, is a baby Saiyan, seemingly a low-class one. King Kai's gonna get this over with quick. But for some reason, he really can't bring himself to do it. He knows how the Saiyans are, and he knows that this should be done. But there's something really holding him back. It's a Saiyan, but it's a Saiyan baby. He begins thinking, there has to be another way, right? But then he realizes, there's one much better option that he could do. Instead of eliminating the Saiyan, he'll raise it. They do need some more good warriors in Universe 7. A lot of the strong ones are evil. So, not only would this mean King Kai doesn't have to do this, but he would also be creating a strong warrior that could help him. He reads the kid's memories, finding out that his name is Kakarot. His parents seemingly were good people. Usually when a Saiyan is sent to a planet, they intend to destroy it. But this one is different. By now he's aware of planet Vegeta's destruction, and that's exactly why this child was sent away. He's a survivor, one of the last Saiyans left. This makes King Kai feel better about his choice. He was never a danger to Earth, well, at least not directly, and he can't help but feel bad for the parents. It's rare that a Saiyan would show some sort of compassion like that. So, this kid, his name is Kakarot, he seems to have a lot of potential, although of course, he is rowdy, but King Kai can fix that. As the years go by, Kakarot becomes much smarter and a little bit more calm, although he does retain some of his Saiyan nature. There was one little precaution that King Kai had to take, that is removing the tail. For Kakarot, the tail does serve as a possible hindrance. Not only is it a weak spot for Saiyans, but he could turn into a great ape and lose control. King Kai could train him to have him control this form, but there's not really space on his planet for that. Besides, one monkey living there is enough. He doesn't need a giant one on top of that. Besides becoming smarter, Kakarot grows much stronger than normal. He still has that same peaceful environment that he grew up with on Earth, but he has the benefit of gravity. As with every other Saiyan, he's actually growing up with 10 times gravity, which is what planet Vegeta had. His growth isn't hindered in any way, and this of course means he'd grow a lot stronger. Kakarot continues this growth, but meanwhile on Earth, things are still happening, although a lot differently than normal. Of course, Grandpa Gohan gets to survive here, living a relatively peaceful life, but he's not really too important to the story here. And surprisingly, Bulma also isn't really too important, except for this small part. Her journey would likely go a lot smoother, and even though Goku isn't there to help her, there's a fair chance that she gets her Dragon Balls. Between her wish for a lifetime supply of strawberries and a boyfriend, she chooses the strawberries. Inadvertently, this means that the Pilaf gang doesn't get the wish. So, it's a win-win. She gets her wish, and the Pilaf gang is stopped. For the time being, at least. But later on, there's a bigger issue. The Red Ribbon Army would start making themselves known. And naturally, with all their power, they make great progress collecting the Dragon Balls. And this is going to be an issue that Earth can't really solve itself. However, King Kai has the perfect answer. He asks Kakarot if he wants to go on a mission, testing out his power on Earth to stop some bad people. Of course, Kakarot would jump at the opportunity for this. Not only is it a chance to have a fight, but also he'll get to test his power and visit a new planet. Kakarot is sent there, and as you could probably imagine, he stops the army relatively easily. In canon, Goku did it pretty casually. But this time with Kakarot, it's no contest, he could do it in his sleep. And naturally this wouldn't really go unnoticed. Some random warrior shows up one day and dismantles an entire army. There may even be some surveillance footage of it from the Red Ribbon Army. People want to figure out what happened, and all they see is a blur moving around. Speculation goes wild, and no one really knows what happened. One person that hears about it is Krillin, and he's pretty curious. From what little they see in the footage, it seems like it was some kid, and this actually kind of motivates Krillin. He wonders if he can get as strong as that kid did. Although he doesn't know who that person is, he could be a god, he could be an alien, or he could be something completely different. Naturally, Krillin is still with Master Roshi. There's no reason he wouldn't be, and he'd kind of be the main character for Earth at this point. He does still show the same promise, and he wants to get a lot stronger. So now he wants to learn more about this godly figure. Roshi directs him to Korin, and Krillin climbs up the tower. Krillin meets Korin, and Korin actually knows somewhat about this warrior. but he'll only tell Krillin if Krillin passes the test. So, for days Krillin tries to steal the water from Korin. Eventually he'd probably be able to, and Korin agrees to train Krillin, as well as telling him somewhat about that godly figure. He does confirm that it was someone sent from the beyond, a warrior from Otherworld sent by King Kai. Sadly, Krillin's not going to meet him anytime soon because that's so high up the chain of command. But Korin says maybe Krillin can work his way up. Krillin continues his quest for power. Eventually the 22nd World Tournament rolls around, and after his training with Korin, Krillin's actually more than enough to defeat Tenshinhan, who would likely be the only challenge for him. Roshi would probably enter as Jackie Chun, but he'd notice that Krillin is way out of his league now. He's proud of his student, and he's still motivated to go further, so Roshi's not too worried. And while things seem okay, of course, King Piccolo and his crew are about to arrive. Tambourine attacks Krillin, but Krillin is actually able to defend this time. He thankfully gets to live, but now he has this huge challenge in front of him, and he doesn't have as many allies to help. Bulma, of course, is not involved, and Yamcha probably wouldn't be either. Tenshinhan and Chaozu probably would help though. Even though Krillin probably won't have the same impact on them as Goku did, they do have a common enemy now. So, surprisingly, the Turtle School and the Crane School team up. Piccolo must be stopped at all cost. They dismantle Piccolo's forces, which isn't really too hard, but it seems like they have a lot of the Dragon Balls already. They do have a great plan though. If they're able to get the Dragon Balls, they can wish to seal Piccolo away. If not, they'll be out of luck. Piccolo will be too strong for them to defeat. The group is able to get most of the Dragon Balls before Piccolo, and now they'll have to lure him in to get the rest of them. This plan ends up working. Krillin and Tenshinhan distract Piccolo. They can't really contend with him in terms of power, but they hold him off as Chaozu goes and steals the wish. King Piccolo is sealed away, and it seems the job is done. All is going pretty good. Earth remains safe, and Kakarot is watching along. King Kai was prepared to have him intervene, but they're lucky that they didn't have to. They're both pretty impressed with the people on Earth. It's not so often where you see an Earthling that strong like Krillin. As we move forward, Krillin would eventually end up training with Kami. Kami would still be alive here because Piccolo was sealed away, not killed. And Krillin would literally move his way up. Let's go back to King Kai's planet. Kakarot is of course growing stronger still, and he's even beginning to learn some new techniques. He has brief control of the Kaioken. Now that he's aged up somewhat, his body can actually handle it, although he has to pace himself and work into it. But what intrigues Kakarot more is that guy on Earth, Krillin. King Kai has word that he's been training with Kami, and Kakarot gets curious. You know what, I'm now just realizing that everyone has K names. King Kai, Kakarot, Krillin, Kami. Weird coincidence. They're gonna keep a close eye on this Krillin guy. More time passes, and eventually the 23rd World Tournament happens. There's no Piccolo Jr. this time. And as for Tenshinhan, he's not as bad as he was before. He's kind of rivals with Krillin. And naturally Krillin would end up winning this tournament. There's not really too many strong people there. Clearly a lot has changed on Earth. Yamcha isn't involved and he's probably still abandoned. As for Bulma, once she got her wish, she was satisfied, and she grows up with a normal life. Chi-Chi may continue fighting, but I'm not really too sure how long that would go on for. So she's out of the picture too. Things are peaceful but pretty tame, at least for the time being. Of course, peril will strike eventually. Even though Kakarot didn't land on Earth, there's someone that thought he did, Raditz. He arrives on Earth, looking around for strong powers. On his scouter, he sees one in the couple hundred range. This power is kind of weak in comparison to Raditz, only about 600, but is the strongest that he can find, so he pursues it. Raditz lands at Kame House, and the only people there are Krillin and Roshi. They can tell that Raditz has malicious intent. And since this guy is so strong, he wonders if he knows anything about Kakarot. He clearly isn't an average Earthling, and not just because of the fact that he has no nose. When Krillin hears the name Kakarot, he goes pale. This guy's evil, and he's looking for Kakarot. He doesn't know him, but Krillin does know Kakarot's name by now. Does this mean Kakarot's a bad guy? He tells Raditz he's not sure, but he's heard stories about Kakarot. Raditz interrogates him, seeing if he can get more info. But Krillin doesn't have any. This only angers Raditz. He feels that Krillin is lying. Whatever though, he prepares to destroy Krillin. But just before he can attack, someone taps him on the shoulder. He turns around and sees. Standing there in some odd clothing is someone that looks relatively like his father. Ah, this must be him. Kakarot is here now, with Roshi and Krillin looking in amazement. Raditz is happy to see his brother, and he seems pretty strong. He wonders what's up with the outfit, but doesn't care. He asks Kakarot to join the Saiyans, and Kakarot asks what they plan to do with Earth. Of course, Raditz plans to destroy it, and he tells Kakarot flat out, thinking that he'll agree with it. They'll kill everyone on there, and then sell the planet. That's all that Kakarot needs to hear. Raditz sticks out his hand, asking his brother to shake it. Kakarot sticks his out, but it turns into a fist as he then knocks Raditz far away, flying across the ocean into land nearby. Kakarot asks Krillin if he could fly, and tells him to follow along. Krillin of course agrees, now seeing that Kakarot is clearly good. They arrive at a crater and see Raditz over there. Weakly, Raditz stands up, angered at what his brother did. Alright, if he wants a fight, Raditz will give him that. Kakarot's clearly strong, so he can't screw around. Raditz creates an artificial moon, and then turns into a great ape. Krillin's obviously pretty terrified, and Kakarot asks if he can help with something. He'll fight off Raditz, but he wants Krillin to cut off his tail if he can. Kakarot will be the distraction as Krillin attacks. Krillin clearly would be nervous, but he agrees. Activating Kaioken, Kakarot surpasses Raditz in terms of power, although it's not something he can use for long, which is why he needs Krillin's help. He fends off Raditz, landing some strong attacks. Raditz loses track of Krillin, not focusing on him, and this is perfect. Krillin has a great technique just for this. In his hands, he charges a Kienzan, aiming for Raditz's tail. While he's distracted, he launches the disc. The Kienzan cleanly slices through it. As Raditz turns back into his normal form, Kakarot powers down, happy that Krillin helped. He actually chuckles a bit. Really, he could have done this himself, but he wanted to see what Krillin was made of. This was more so a test. With a single attack, he eliminates Raditz, not caring that they're related. Of course, Krillin has a lot of questions, so Kakarot explains everything. He definitely sees the potential in this Krillin guy, and for the next year, they're gonna have to spend some time together. Before Raditz died, he does mention that the Saiyans are gonna come to Earth soon, and this will be a perfect test for Kakarot's power, as well as seeing if Krillin can train to this level too. Krillin goes with Kakarot to train for Kaioken and prepare for the Saiyans. He's heard of King Kai and Kakarot, but he's actually amazed to be here. The gravity would be really hard for him to get adjusted to at first, but he does adapt. It takes some time, but still, he's eventually able to handle it and then begins his training. King Kai is pretty impressed too, although he's not nearly as strong as Kakarot. For an Earthling, this guy's tough. Clearly he's also very smart, a tactician at heart. Kakarot does most of the training, while King Kai steps in at some points. This is more than he can ever wish for. Of course he does have a close connection with Kakarot, but he's also glad that he grew up into a strong warrior. But now, there's another one too. The North Galaxy now has two great people that he can work with. And even better, for any other world tournaments, this will really help him. The tournaments aren't his main priority, but hey, it's a nice bonus for him. Over this year, Kakarot and Krillin become good friends. Even with these odd circumstances, they're still going to be best pals, despite all the major changes in the story. After this year of training, the two head back to Earth, and there's no games here. They're not going to play around with the Saiyans and look for a good fight. Vegeta and Nappa arrive, surprised to see only two people standing against them, one being Kakarot in that same weird outfit, and then another being some short, bald Earthling, who doesn't have a nose for some reason. They shout out the Cybermen, but with one swipe, Kakarot eliminates them all. He doesn't want any games. Fine, if he wants to play like that, they'll play along. Nappa steps up first, with Krillin ready to take him on. Krillin activates Kaioken and immediately goes for the kill. Nappa was no trouble for him. As quickly as it started, it ends. Vegeta's amazed, but he can't get distracted. He's facing Kakarot at the same time. And Vegeta actually feels nervous. Kakarot seems to be casually keeping up with him, while Vegeta's at his max. Being careful, he's not going to take any chances. Vegeta throws up an artificial moon, which isn't surprising to Kakarot or Krillin. Vegeta knows to protect his tail this time. But Kakarot actually laughs at this. He's still confident that he can defeat Vegeta. And if anything, this allows him to test out some new techniques. Kakarot fights Great Ape Vegeta, and Vegeta's amazed. How did low-class Saiyan get this strong? Of course, Kakarot is way stronger than Goku was in canon, not only due to growing up in time-stand gravity, but also having a great teacher and a good training partner for a year. By this point, he actually has Kaioken up to times 20, but he really only needs times 10. Let's actually look at some power levels so we can get a sense of his power. Kakarot's at 30,000, while Krillin's around 10,000. As you could probably tell, this is kinda overkill, which is why Vegeta needed to transform. Krillin has Kaioken up to times 3, which would mean his power would increase to 30,000, meaning he'd be matching Kakarot in terms of power, although that's just Kakarot's base power. Once he activates Kaioken times 20, well, it's pretty much game over for anyone else. His power soars to 600,000, a pretty huge number. But for Vegeta, he's not going to have to use that much power. Instead, he goes to times 10. He easily is able to outpace Vegeta, and he's actually enjoying this fight. Krillin's confused as to why he's not ending it faster, but it's mainly due to Kakarot's Saiyan blood. It's the first time pretty much ever where he's had a fun fight. But this doesn't really mean he's going to screw around. He heavily overpowers Great Ape Vegeta, outspeeding and outmaneuvering him. Vegeta does seem dangerous and he might blow up Earth, so Kakarot's going to end this. He flies around Vegeta's back and hits him right there in his spine, causing Vegeta to flip over and crash into the ground. He's going to have to use a lot of power from a beam to kill Vegeta, and with Vegeta on the ground, that'll be tough. He doesn't want Earth to get harmed, so he actually has the perfect opportunity to use a new technique. Vegeta gets up and jumps up towards Kakarot. He stretches his hand out, ready to grab him. But as he jumps up, Kakarot lifts one of his hands up, smirking. He asks Krillin to lend him some energy, as well as the planet itself. In his hands, he begins charging a very small spirit bomb. With how much time he spent with King Kai, he has perfect mastery over this technique, being able to quickly and efficiently charge it. As Vegeta flies up towards Kakarot, he launches a beam from his mouth. and in response, Kakarot throws a spirit bomb. It cuts through Vegeta's blast, disintegrating it, and flies directly into Vegeta's mouth. Right as Vegeta's hand is about to grab Kakarot, it goes right through him. His hand begins disintegrating, as well as the rest of him. He then screams as he explodes from the spirit bomb, destroying him. Earth has defended against the Saiyans, and it seems all is going to go well now. Krillin and Kakarot congratulate each other, happy to have done this. So, what would happen next? Well, not really much. Since Kakarot would have completely destroyed the Red Ribbon Army, there'd be no androids either. And without any Saiyans or Namek, there's not going to be any Frieza, at least not yet. But on that note, I guess we can leave off here for now. So, what did you guys think about this scenario? Do you think I should continue it, and what do you think would happen next if I do? Leave any thoughts and suggestions in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out to see what you guys think. As always, if you liked the video, be sure to drop a like. And let's try to hit that like goal from the beginning of the video so we can get another part to this series. If you haven't already, why not subscribe, as well as hitting the bell icon to get notified about any future parts of this What If, or any other videos that I upload on my channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.